I'm John Evans. Welcome to another episode of One on One. If you set your alarm and get up to Foz in the Morning starring Michaela every day, chances are you don't drift back to sleep. It's a high-energy program with Jason Fosdick at the controls. Jason is now in his 15th year at Z1075. He's a familiar voice, and he's made a huge impact in this community on and off the air. Fans may think they know Foz just by listening to the radio show, but stick around. You're going to learn a lot more about him now. Jason Fosdick, husband, father, DJ, award winner, and many people might not know, the all-time career home run leader at Augustana College.
Can you hug on this?
We could hug if you want to.
You know, I'm the only one that's ever told everyone that. You're the first person to actually acknowledge that.
25 home runs at Augustana College.
Yeah.
They may not know your baseball exploits.
You know what? So here's the thing about college athletics. It was about one of the best 4 years of my life because I got to go somewhere, meet all these new interesting people that exposed me to all these new families and thoughts, and to have a bunch of success doing that. It was really fun, and it was all done in a real small college in an intimate setting, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. That's why I love these little town settings. I think that's what drew me to Wilmington.
When you came here,
yeah,
2004,
yeah,
did you think you'd be here 15 years?
Yeah. Can I back up?
Sure.
We missed a title. Which camera is going to get this? I am the official president of the John Evans fan club, and we're growing by the day. If you'd like to join, WECT.com. I'm sure it's on their app and all the other wonderful things in this award-winning studio. Okay, what was the question?
When you got here, 2004,
Yeah.
your second radio job.
Yes.
Your first one was in Champaign,
Illinois.
the birthplace of REO Speedwagon, by the way. You didn't know that.
And I lived there for a year and was like entrenched in the entertainment world.
Birthplace of REO Speedwagon. You can take that and use that tomorrow morning.
Nice.
But did you really think that Wilmington was going to be a home, or was it just another stop on Jason's career?
Nope, fell in love. So first day I came here, right? I saw the beach. I went downtown, saw the battleship. I knew it was it. I mean, I really knew it was it. Took a tour of the Bellamy Mansion. I was hooked. I was hooked. I love history. I love small communities. Really what got me here, the second day I was here, I went to a grocery store, right? Coming from Champaign, everyone was kind of fast-paced. Nobody really slowed down to talk to each other. First grocery store I went to, how you doing, sir? Where are you from? Nice to see you. It was engaging. Mm-hmm. I was hooked in. I was hooked. I loved it. Never even thought about leaving.
And did you come here, were you a morning guy at your old station in Champaign when you got here? So mornings has been your lot.
So you talked about all this massive amount of home runs that I hit in college, right? So how I got to that level in my life. I got up at 4 in the morning and I worked my tail off. I went then to school. I worked out at lunch. I'd go to classes. I'd go to practice after lunch. So I started from a young age getting up before everyone, trying to get as much work as I could in. And because I wasn't fast, I wasn't athletic, I wasn't gifted. I had to earn all of that. So that was rooted in me. And part of the trick of morning radio is just waking up, being present, being able to talk. That's half of the job. And I was ready for that from day one.
And what was the family home like? I read and tried to do some research. You were enamored with radio growing up. But what was the family life around the Fosdick household?
So hectic. Divorced parents, so it was a little here, a little there, right? Like most half of America. Right. So it was a little hectic dealing with those schedules. But family life was it was a loving environment. My parents are they're in their communities. My father's passed, but when he was alive, he was the guy you'd go to in that town. You needed something done. There was a big charity that needed money. There was anything massive that needed moved in that town. He was the guy that was going to get it done. My mom was the same kind of way in her own respective community. She's a breast cancer survivor.
God love her.
Yeah.
God love her.
And well, you know better than anyone how tough that battle is.
We do,
And so she took that and then started raising a ton of money for other women in our community. And so my home life growing up, I saw these two amazing people doing all these amazing things for all these other people. That was growing up. So now fast forward to 15 years, I'm in radio. Now I've got this massive media behind me that I can do the same thing. With a whole radio station behind me. And it's
well, now you got a fleet of radio stations behind you that you work for.
Absolutely right. And I've access to all of them. So it's amazing what we can get done.
And you need to learn the word no, because I don't think you've used it very often when people ask you to do things. Because you know, and when you get into the business, I don't know if many people know this, there's one side of the business when you get into it, whether it's radio, TV, or whatever, you got to do your daily job. But then you've got to build some kind of community behind you. And that's when you go out and you do the weekend events and you do the weekend evenings and you do the after work things that you've been doing now for 15 years.
How do you think we became friends? Because you do the same thing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but both of us were trying to do that same thing as we went along.
So here's what I learned really quickly in radio. When I first got into radio, I was like, oh, this is all about me. I'm Foz, I'm the guy you got to look at, it's all about me, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone who gets in entertainment, it's just a really selfish mindset. Then I realized the power of what these things can do, what TV stations can do, what any media company that can pull a community together. When I realized that power, it changed everything for me. And then I started trying to figure out, what can I do with this? What good can we do?
Right.
We hooked up with charities that needed some, energizing. They needed a place where they could tell their story. And once I started doing one, it became infectious. And then you would just want to see who you can help. So it's hard to say no. There's a lot of people that need help.
Yeah.
And when you're someone like John Evans, who can talk to thrones of human beings and can inform people and educate and let them decide if they want to get involved, it's powerful.
But you do the same thing, though, is that, with your schedule, same way with my schedule, and with Fran's and everybody else's, we can't go to meetings. We can't be at that meeting where everybody else meets. So we take the MC duties, the host duties, as our community service. That's the way I've approached it for 26 years.
Absolutely right. And by the way, which camera's on? John Evans is the best host in the history of. I've seen you at so many events. What I love about you is it's the same guy that's on TV. You're relatable, you're real, you're honest, you're sincere, you're there to help. That comes out loud and clear.
But you're the same way.
Absolutely right. But I'm not as pretty, so they can't put me on TV.
Do you remember when you first started listening to the radio?
Yeah.
What some of the favorite songs were?
I grew up in the 90s. So you had MTV influence and all this weird, just influx of all this new music. And so for me, there was all this stuff out there, and radio kind of brought it all together for me. So I knew if I wanted to listen to Top 40, I could find that station. If I wanted to listen to grunge, I could find the new grunge station. I loved the convenience of it. I really loved morning radio. I spent a lot of time in the car in Chicago. And because the drive times are like 2 hours everywhere. 2 hours to get 2 blocks.
Yeah.
But morning radio there is very important for that reason. People are stuck in a car, they're landlocked, they need something to inform, to educate, to engage. And I got a lot of that through radio, and it didn't take me long to figure out that's what I wanted to do. My problem was just finding my way in. It's hard to break into this business.
It is.
You have to hear. I heard 400 no's before I heard a maybe. And the first 2 no's really hurt. And a lot of people jump out after those.
Yeah.
And after a while, I got used to hearing no, but I still, pounded through. And then I got my first maybe, and I just showed up, and they said, well, okay, let's try it. And that was Champaign, Illinois.
And you went to Pontiac High School. When I went to high school, when you went to high school, there weren't the opportunities that maybe a lot of the students have now, where you have the high school radio stations and you have the availability of doing your own thing and putting it on YouTube where people can see. We had to send out letters, and we had to knock on doors. And many of those no's, like you said, hurt.
Yeah, I was a very broke kid trying to bust into radio. So what I was doing was I'd save up enough money to send my demo with a pizza box, so they would open it, and at least there would be some. Well, this is different than the other 400 tapes that I got in.
That's interesting.
3 pizzas it took, which for a kid who had no money, it was thinking, how long can I play this game? But I tried to do something special to stand out, and that's what it was, a pizza box.
Yeah, and you went to Augustana. What drew you to Augustana?
Believe it or not, it was my head coach in high school went there, and he just told me about it. It was a great school, a lot of one-on-one attention, small school, but big thinking. And I kind of liked that. And that's exactly what I got from that experience.
And you played football there and baseball, but baseball is where you stood out.
I was an All-American football player, John. You didn't.
You were, but you still hold baseball records.
I only had
right
16 of them, I think, when I left.
Right here, and the school's career RBI record you held for 6 years till it was broken in 2006. The school's baseball bio in 2000, quote, Fosdick has no equal in the power hitting department.
That's a true quote.
End quote.
From my mother. She knows a lot about baseball.
The team won 38 games your senior year. That had to be, when you get a nucleus of players, teammates, and friends, that's got to be a special memory.
Here's what was awesome about that. When I went to Augustana College, I truly went there to play football. I was a standout high school football player. I was also a really pretty good baseball player, but I went there for football. The baseball team was terrible. Hadn't won in 80 years. Terrible. But we got a bunch of guys that got together and decided, let's make this good. And we worked hard. We were bad our freshman year. We got better our sophomore year. By the time we were seniors, we were one of the best teams in the nation.
38-8.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so to be part of that, to take a really bad situation that nobody was excited about, and when we handed it back to seniors, this was one of the most exciting programs in the country for Division III. That was exciting.
Yeah.
It took a ton of work, but what a great life lesson to then take into radio.
Yeah.
Because boy, radio wasn't easy at all.
No.
And if I didn't come into it ready to just give everything I had from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m., I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today. So.
And you were part of the first NCAA appearance in school history. In 1999, NCAA
Yes.
Division II tournament appearance, you were on that team.
Yeah, we were terrible before, so we were the first team to actually make it to the postseason in like 80 years.
And
it was amazing.
All-time top 10. Home runs, number one.
Yeah.
Runs batted in third. On-base percentage 4. Now, this is 2019. This isn't 2006.
When I graduated, I think I had 16 of the all-time career, like single-season career records.
Well, you're still in the top 10 in 1, 2, 3, in 8 categories. You're still in the top 10.
My mother will be proud.
So Illinois School of Broadcasting, what pushed you there? Had you learned about that? Had you heard about that?
No. So I was sitting in the car doing financial planning. Okay, so I graduated college. Sports was over. I did financial planning for about a year and a half. I didn't like the experience. I loved the job because you could help people. You could inform them on all these different financial products, sell people life insurance, give them products that they really needed.
Right.
That was cool, but I wasn't getting anything out of the job, right? I was sitting in my car going to another kitchen table appointment one night, and I heard a commercial on the radio. Do you want to be in radio? Call the Illinois Center of Broadcasting. And so I called them, took the tour. I signed my check right there on the tour for the tuition because I felt like this is where I belong. And my whole life changed literally in one day. At 23 years old, one summer afternoon, taking one tour of the Illinois Center.
And what was it about it?
I knew this is where I wanted to be. There was electricity in the air. We were doing a little, I sat down with 2 college students that were doing their little internet show, okay? There had no listeners. It wasn't a real show, but it was just the setting of 2 people sitting there talking about whatever's on their mind right there. They had a phone line which went to the other studio, so you had another person calling in, but you got the small experience of, oh, this is what it would be like to be on a morning show. You've got all these people engaging, talking, having fun. I wanted that. I wanted a piece of that. And that's really what, I knew that would be my path to get into radio, and that's what led me there. And then I won a nice award from that school.
Yeah.
The outstanding broadcasting student for the whole school, which was nice, and that gave me a little star on my resume to at least not get it thrown away the first wave.
And who was the first, what was the first station you sent out a tape to?
Oh, I don't even remember. There was, as I said, I sent out 400 before Champaign said I'll do it. And Champaign, Illinois, the first 2 stations before that, there was a station in Iowa that I sent a pizza to. I called the local pizza place, sent my demo up there in the mail, organized all of that. The 3rd pizza was Champaign, and that was probably demo tape number 403.
And when they said yes?
I can't even explain it because I was so excited. I felt like I was floating. I was shaking because you work so hard for something when you finally get there. And I knew I hadn't gotten there because I still didn't even know anything about radio. I had no clue what I was doing, but I knew I was going to get a chance. And like every other thing in life, as long as I got a chance to do it, it always ended up okay. You get a chance, you work your tail off, you learn from all your mistakes. Everything seems to end up okay.
And how did it go? Take me to, you remember that first morning?
Yeah, like it was yesterday. So my first morning, the PD, they didn't have any training back then. The PD's training was your job starts at 2, don't cuss. That was my whole training. Your job starts at 2, don't cuss. I didn't even know what studio I was supposed to be in. So I get in there and we had this thing where you could either turn the station on live board or dead board. If it's on dead board, nobody can, okay. So the board that I was running was on dead board. I wasn't broadcasting over the air. I was talking so loud into the microphone, it was bleeding through the walls, where the PD, who was sitting next to the studio, thought I was on the air because I was just screaming, because I was so excited to be on the radio. It was really bad the first few months. Finally, I calmed down. I started, really focusing in on the craft and radio, and it all worked out. I was put into mornings only 3 months into it, so I still didn't know what I was doing. The morning position opened up. They thrusted me into that show, not really knowing anything. About 2 years of really bad radio, and then finally, I understood.
When did you? Was there a day, a moment, and something that told you, I get this?
Yep, a phone call. It was a phone call. It was a mother and her daughter. They're sitting in the car, and the mother said, "I just really appreciate you. We're having a bad morning, and you really made my morning." And I put this lady live on the radio, and we were just having a few just a little quick conversation that was just going out live on the air. And so what I realized in that moment is how powerful morning radio, or just really any broadcast, any program that's connecting with people, the power you really have. And what also really clicked for me was I need to give part of this station to the listener. If I can open up a space where people can call in and feel comfortable, where they can be part of the program. You know, the secret to what makes Z an amazing station is we build everything right here. The jingles that you hear on the station, these are local people.
Right.
All the audio, all the listeners talking about, oh, I love this radio station, I love it. It's all people here in town. So we're building the station with people in this town. It is a true local made product.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have got that if it wasn't for that first phone call where I really realized we've got to open up this radio station to the public. My job as the PD is to make sure that Wilmington is building this with us and contributing in several different ways all day.
And then 4 years in Champaign, roughly about 4, what brought you to Wilmington? Mark
the Shark called me. He said, hey, we've got a job by the beach. The money's terrible, but I think you're the guy for it. There'll be great opportunity to grow. And I never even heard of Wilmington, North Carolina. Never even heard of it. So I did what everyone did back then. I went online, and the internet wasn't
nearly as powerful.
Yeah. So it took me about 35 minutes to finally dial in, and then I got this, a couple of pictures, and one of the pictures was of the Bellamy Mansion that was online back then, believe it or not. Another picture was of Wrightsville Beach. So I saw those 2 pictures and thought, well, maybe let's go look at this station. I came down here and toured, and that was it. I said, I want to be down here. I knew wherever I ended up in radio, and this is where I'm going to end up in radio. It really is. And it's weird to say that so young in a career, but this is where my passion is. I knew pretty early in this is where I wanted to stay and be special. And in today's world of media, it's hard to do that when you're constantly chasing. Right? Hard to do that. And I didn't want to be chasing. I wanted to be important and influential. And so I dug my heels in and said, this is where I'm going to stay.
And as radio has changed, because television has changed, media as a whole has changed.
Absolutely.
It's become, in many ways, more corporate. How have you been able to navigate? Let's face it, it hadn't been very smooth waters in the 15 years, whether it be TV or radio in this market or in the business.
Here's what's exciting, though, and here's why you guys are so great. You're ahead of the curve. We've got 15 years ago, we didn't have these apps. We didn't have digital studios. Even for you guys to get a news story on the air 15 years ago, I mean, that might have took half the day. You guys have news stories on in a matter live a lot of times. The amount of places where we can now put our content, where we can put our stuff, where we can put our clients' messages, it's really opened up the candy store to. We have a lot of different bullets in our gun, so to speak, and it's fun. I think it's way more exciting now. It's hard because there's so much competition. 80 years ago, you had 3 TV channels. Now you've got 300 TV channels.
You had 5 or 6 that were able to hear you, and now you've got 5 or 6,000.
You can hear my music that I play on Z in 1,000 different places. You really can. So it's really opened up the competition. But what's made you guys great and what's made our station great is we've really honed in on the local aspect. Here's what's going on in our town. You're not going to get that from national news outlets. You're not going to get that from those. You're going to get that from your local news media.
And obviously it shines forth in times like Hurricane Florence and stuff. But when others come in town, and I've told this for many years, when some of the network people come in town, they're here for a major event, and then 2 days later they scoot. We're here to continue with the recovery after the Florences and everything like that, which is what you guys have done with so many different opportunities on down the line.
Well, so that storm came through here. It was the scariest experience I've ever been through. You as well. I mean, we were talking to you guys through the storm when your roof ripped off and all the damage you were going through. And by the way, you guys did an amazing job.
Well, I think everybody in this community did.
Yes. What a scary time, but what a great time for the local media to really shine and show what we can do. So you're absolutely right. Where our radio stations really were powerful is we were helping people when the storm was over. Here's the 2 or 3 routes to get your family back home. Here's where the 2 or 3 places are to get water and food. That was really crucial, vital information that there's only a few of us able to get that out. It was so exciting. And so as a professional in broadcast, it was so fun to be a part of, but it was also just so scary because there were so many people hanging on by a thread.
I've been blessed here since I joined WECT of having Fran as my co-anchor for 11 years now, and Ashley on the Fox side. You've had several who have come here and then decided to go on to different
Several's
things?
a nice way to put it.
Okay. How have you, first off, can you name them all first to
I'm pretty
now?
sure I could. It started with Nikki St. John, and
Right.
right now it's Michaela, who is absolutely amazing. Michaela's a local business owner. She had no radio experience when I hired her.
Right.
And which was very hard to convince corporate. As you said, it's a corporate job.
Sure.
To convince somebody that I want to hire somebody that has zero experience in this job when I know you're asking for 5 years, it took a bit of a conversation.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of co-hosts. They've all left for a myriad of different reasons. They
Right.
really have. Some have had great opportunities. To get up every morning at 4 a.m. and to be positive and to engage, it's exhausting. It really is. And I'm surprised I've been on the hamster wheel for so long.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you along the way. You've had to get used to different co-hosts along the way. How long does it take you to finally say, okay, I've got it, I've got you, you've got me, let's go forward here?
Honestly, it's pretty instantaneous. I know pretty quickly with when putting somebody, because again, I've done this 10 times at this point, putting somebody new on the air, you know pretty quick if the chemistry's there, right? And a lot of times what I'm looking for is just a good person. I can teach anyone to do radio. You can teach anyone to be a good, newscaster.
Right.
But what I need is someone who's really a good person, who's got a good base, who wants to give back to the community. That's what I've looked for in all the co-hosts. And it took me a while to really find the quality I'm looking for, but I've honed in on it, and that's certainly what we look for now in anyone we hire now to be on the radio.
But it's got to be tiring getting up at the hours you get up.
You would think I would be so cranky, right? And not, I hand the Bible, swear to God, every morning the alarm goes off and I jump out of bed. I really do. Every day's different, every day's exciting. I can't wait till the red light goes on when I hit that mic at 6 a.m. and we start talking. I love it. I love it. The phones start ringing immediately. We start getting the temperature of the town. My day's wonderful. Here's all my news stories I want to get through. If I get through them, I do. If I don't, we don't. Mm-hmm. Wherever the wind blows us, that's where the conversation goes. And it's a fun space to be in for 3 hours.
How long does it take you to prep? It takes us a certain period of time to build our 4 o'clock newscast, 5:36, and everything.
How long is that, by the way?
Well, it all kind of depends. I mean, we have a producer who's working on those newscasts all day long.
Gotcha.
When I actually start sitting down and reading my scripts and then going through the scripts that we split, it takes me roughly about 90 minutes to get through the scripts between the 5 and the 6.
Gotcha.
Now, 10 and 11 o'clock, it's even longer because it's Ashley and I splitting 2 and then Fran and I splitting 2. So on a night like tonight, when I do the 10 and the 11 myself, it takes a better part of 2 hours to go through everything and put it in my vernacular, the way John is going to deliver it. What about you? What is your prep time? How long does it take Foz to prep for a Friday morning show on Thursday?
1 hour. And it's always in the morning. I don't do any prep the night before because I go to bed at 8 o'clock. That's when a lot of the news is happening, right?
Yeah. So you really prep for 1 hour in the morning before?
I get in at 5 a.m. every morning. I have a little fun with Stanley B. from Jammin' and Suzanne from Sunny and all our morning people. And 1 hour every morning. And it's really just pulling the news stories I want to deliver that hour. I spend a couple of minutes with each story so I get familiar. So when I'm ready to deliver it, I don't have to do a lot of pre-work. And that's really it. The way the morning show's set up, it's so freeform. It's just like we're doing right here.
Right.
2 people talking about what's going on today.
Except you're in front of a bigger board. You've got 2 microphones next to each other as opposed to us having them on our shirts at this point
Absolutely
in time.
right.
Yeah. And it amazes me how you can kind of take that show control at 5:59:55 and make it your own for 4 hours every day.
Not an easy job.
No, it's not.
Not an easy job.
But are you really whipped at 10:01 every morning?
Oh, yeah. So I'll hit a wall by 11. I'll hit a wall. I do one of these by about 11. I'll get a couple of cups of coffee, get my second win, and off we go. I'm usually there from 4 to 2 or 4 to 3, 4 in the morning. I'm sorry, I get up at 4 in the morning. I'm there at 5. I'm there till 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon. Sometimes 5. It depends on what's going on. Like you being here till midnight. Do you realize how long of a day you're going to work today?
Yeah.
Does your wife not?
Well, if I was home anymore, she'd send me to work even more.
Oh, okay.
You took on some management tasks recently.
Absolutely.
And what was that like, going from, hey, I'm here to have fun every day, to all of a sudden being, I'm responsible for music. Right. I'm responsible for imaging. I'm responsible for some of these other things.
It was hard, but I tell you what helped, having the kid, right? So
I was going to ask you about that.
Having the kid. Well, they gave me the management role a while ago, and I was an okay manager. They thought I was doing so well with Z, let's see if he can take some of this and spread it to other stations. And my job really was to get these other stations to start working like Z. And it didn't go so well the first in the very beginning, because I was the young kid working with seasoned vets trying to teach an old dog new trick isn't really, well, that might be the phrase you're talking about. And that's not an easy process.
No.
Coming in with your own vision, trying to blend that with someone. So once having the kid, it made me slow down. It made me look at things, not from just my perspective, but there's another perspective you're working with. And truly having that kid slowed me down, calmed me down, made me a much more effective manager. The best managers are the best listeners. I would have never thought that when I first got the job, and it took me a lot of failures to get there. But once I started listening, everything started working much better, and it's really been great.
That was the question I have down here is when you got married and when Maxim came along, how did Jason change?
Well, I'm much more boring now, and I try to hide that in every way I can, right? I was known for this wild, crazy. Here's a good example. We bring these UNCW kids in every year. You know, the seniors in the communications class.
Right.
Dr. Bill Bolduc, he's a wonderful educator in this town. He brings his great students in, and we give them the little dime tour. I used to bring these kids in and treat them like pixie cups, like a disposable. I'd try to torture them for an hour. I would take bets on how fast I can get one of them to cry, like really mean-spirited, fun radio. Well, I'd send them out, I'd give them tasks to do around town, and it was really fun radio, entertaining for us, but it wasn't really a really good experience for them. Having the kid, it calmed me down where now I realize, well, these kids are here to learn, and I've got an opportunity to teach them something that they haven't been exposed to. And just looking at it from that lens, it's matured me incredibly, which I hate.
But did you also, one of the ways that when I became a dad is that when you deal with a college student is that you're like, okay, if this was my daughter or son, I would want somebody to really treat them as good as possible. So you make that college student put them in your family and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to help that person like I hope someone helps Jonathan or Monica or Abby.
The whole mindset is now I wish I would have had somebody to help me along the way versus everyone, not helping you, but just everyone's in their own world and doing their own thing, and I was just a guest in their world. It would have been nice to have somebody really take time to give me some guidance, and here's the way to do it in terms of radio. And so I do take that opportunity to try to do that as much as I can with the kids now, which I wouldn't have done that before the kid. I probably still would have just tried to have fun with the kids and make it amusing for the morning show and miss all that opportunity. And
I don't know if I would have ever planned on ever seeing you inside a Lowe's home improvement store, but I actually saw you inside a Lowe's one day.
Yes, sir. Handy. I missed my calling in life. I should have been a construction worker.
Really?
Love it, love it, love it. I love the demo aspect. I love going into a home, tearing it up, right? Tearing drywall down, getting everything down to the studs, and then rebuilding it and making it beautiful. The whole process of taking something rough and making it now something that's desirable. That's fun.
Do you do that on your spare time?
Oh, yeah.
Or when you want to relax?
Not as much as I used to. That used to be my form of relaxing. Now I work so much, my form of relaxing is I sit at home at 4 o'clock with a cold beverage and watch news. Ashley at 4, I get you at 5 and 6 usually. Never your 11.
What does Maxim like to do that you've had to learn to do?
Nothing. He's what does he learn? That's a good question. Okay, what does he learn to do that I like to do?
Or what does he like to do that you've had to learn to do? I mean, sports-wise, you've got it nailed. You can teach him to play football, baseball, basketball, and everything
else. He's great at flag football. Oh my gosh, he's so good. There's some footage out there online of this kid doing some amazing, breaking ankles as we call it. He's great. He's a chip off. Although he was born with athletic ability, I had to earn every bit of mine. Mm-hmm. He seems to be born with it. So his mom probably gave him some good genes from mother, like every kid.
But being a father is a kick to Foz?
Oh, it's the best. It is the best job. I love radio. It's my great passion. It's pale in comparison to raising a kid. I mean, that's the joy that kid can bring me in a matter of seconds with one word, right? He can break me down with one word. He can. It's special to love something that much. It's very unique. It's very unique. I've never experienced anything like it. I hope I experience it another 100 times because I would have 1,000 kids if I could. I really would. Yeah. And we're trying, so we'll see. It's a good experience.
We are soon going to be grandparents, Sheila and I. My son's...
I thought you were about to say you're trying to have a kid. I was like, wow, John, this is going to be great for the
no,
news.
No.
We can do a whole special on you having a baby.
In October of this year, I hope to be a grandfather for the very first time.
Yes,
that's
amazing.
And so, I'm looking forward to that next phase in my life, like you have found with fatherhood.
Well, so fatherhood, you can't put them down. You're in you're riding all the way
long
through.
haul.
Yeah. As a grandparent, you get all the good stuff.
Here's all the sugar. Here's all the candy corn you want. Okay, Jonathan, here's your son.
I had all the good times. Now they're being fussy. I'm going home. See you, kids. That's all the good stuff.
You played Vaughn, or played on Vaughn.
Yes.
What was that like? Did you ever have those thoughts before this came up?
They came to me and said, hey, we got to roll this perfect for you. We need a radio DJ. We need a space to shoot it. Can we come over there and we'll give you a role in the old show? And I'm always up for challenge. I'm a terrible actor, I found out. I mean, really bad. That's acting. They make it look so easy, right? To them, it's just natural. They're playing this character and portraying this character, and you would just totally believe that's who they are. That's what makes great actors and actresses. I don't have any of that. I'm so programmed to be just real. Right? Because if I'm not real on the radio, people see it immediately.
Yes, and they will hear through it and everything else like that.
Yeah, and so I'm just so programmed just to be genuine, where when I'm trying to be somebody else, it's a horrible thing.
First time anybody did a double take, you're the guy on the radio.
Yeah.
First time, do you remember
it? No, but it thank goodness it happens quite a bit now, and that's because of all the videos and Facebook and Twitter.
Right.
When 15 years ago, people didn't really see a lot of the DJs. You'd have to physically go to an event to see someone. Yeah. But now we're everywhere. Yeah. So it happens all the time.
When I was getting ready for this, I obviously did a lot of research here, but I did ask some people about what they would want to hear from Foz.
Okay.
So I got some here in the newsroom, here in the community. The song, performer, or group that you've grown to like more than others.
Well, like everyone, Frank Sinatra. Isn't that everyone's favorite? Isn't that your favorite?
No, not really.
You're a classic rocker, aren't you?
I am a classic rocker.
What's your number one?
Oh, I would have to say, I've never met them. I would have to say I would really like to meet the guys in REO Speedwagon. That would be a
from Champaign, Illinois.
From Champaign, Illinois.
My people.
Yes.
Because
I had 8 tracks. It was one of the first records, albums, and records that I bought. Was the old REO TWO record, which had the cowhide on the side. But I've been a fan ever since. But was there a song or a group or a performer that you like more than most? Is Frank the number one for you?
I truly like everything. So I mean, I love top 40 music, obviously, because I'm on that station. Yeah. But I listen to that 8, 9, 10 hours a day. So I'm putting my time in with that music. When I leave, I'm always looking for something else. So for me to relax, I usually go to a Sinatra or 60s rock or some kind of some station to get as far away from top 40 as I can.
I was going to say, do you go the other way and on your playlist have everything from Frank to Metallica all the way around?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Why don't we bring REO Speedwagon to town?
Oh, I'd love.
I mean, y'all could sell 100,000 tickets like that.
We'll do the Wilson Center like we did Rick Springfield 2 weeks ago. We could do that.
And didn't you sign some big new contract? I know you can pay for it. We'll hit Francis up for somebody.
Well, maybe Sheila for my 60th birthday we'll start with Dr. Damian Brzezinski. They can make that happen.
Oh, and she's got to have some bikes left over. You had so many bikes from that bike drive. We'll sell some of those. There's got to be some.
The song, performer, or group that you just never want to play again.
Oh, that's nobody. It's for me. The station is not for me to say who's on or who's not.
Oh, I know, but if you.
Just if I could get rid of one.
Yeah.
I'm such a fan of people expressing themselves. So even if your music's terrible, if music is where your heart is, God bless and go do it. So there's nobody that I would say I don't like.
But because you, how much of the music do you actually listen to? Because you're doing other things when that 3-minute and 22-second cut is on, right?
Absolutely right. When the music's playing, which is a rarity, because you see we're talkers, so I'm yapping most of the morning. Yeah. That music is really there as a bridge to give me a chance to breathe, get my thoughts together for the next segment. So I barely hear the music in the morning. Barely hear it.
Okay. First performer that you met that you were in awe of or spellbound?
Nelly. And Nelly's one of the nicest. Nelly has never been here, has he? No, Nelly came here.
Yeah, he was here. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. So my first major interview was with Nelly. I was very nervous. I was honest with him about it because I had only been in radio at that point in like 2 weeks. So I said, Nelly, I'm really nervous. Just to let you know, going into this, if I say anything weird, have fun with it. And he dropped his guard. He became like the big brother. It was like, it's okay. We'll get through this. And I've never seen a celebrity really take time to do that, to be a helping hand. I was so impressed with that, and we had an amazing interview. When I moved here later, I called his people and said, it's Foz. He might not remember this, but I'd love to interview him again. He called right up. It was like we were old lost friends.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So I was very impressed with Nelly. I was not impressed with what happened during his lovely drive down I-40, but it is what it is.
What about the person who you met and could have just wanted that 30 minutes of your life back and weren't very impressed with, or really could have done without?
Oh, anybody? Kanye. Remember when Kanye West came to town? Yeah. He just wasn't a big fan of anybody.
People?
People. And part of it was he was so focused on getting his show right, because he came here to kind of fine-tune his show, and he just didn't have time for anybody, and that was very obvious in the conversations. Person
you would like to interview or work with?
John Evans.
Oh, come on.
John Evans.
Oh, come on. We've worked together. We've even done wing eating contests together.
Right.
You can't do that with Nelly or Kanye. But I mean,
wouldn't want to.
Who would you like to meet and interview of those who you haven't had the chance? Music, social?
You know who I'm really fascinated with? And it's not even music. People like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates. Bill's wife would be even more fascinating. People in this world that are making a difference in positive ways. People that are taking their situations and their success and doing good with that. I've always been fascinated with that. When Warren Buffett took his billions and donated it back, that was one of the kindest acts ever in humanity. It really was. And I know some people will sit there and think, oh, it's just a rich guy giving back. He didn't have to do that. Right. He really didn't. And I love people that, it doesn't have to be billion-dollar donations. It can be just somebody who takes the time walking down the street to acknowledge somebody else and make them feel good. I enjoy people like that. In terms of celebrities, Warren Buffett's a great example.
Coolest thing that your job has allowed you to do?
Live in Wilmington for this long. Meet my wife. Meet you. Meet all these. Wilmington is, and I'm going to blame the ocean for this, Wilmington brings all these incredible people, interesting, talented people to the port city. When you think about the restaurants we have no business having that many amazing, unique local restaurants in a town of about 300,000 people. We've got dining options like Chicago and New York and the fanciest ones out there. It's amazing the talent. When you look at the artists in this town, if you go to any of these local art galleries, you'll be blown away at the talent in this town. The local musicians. There's only a few places in the world other than Nashville and LA and New York. There's only a handful of other places that have as much local talent.
Eclectic talent.
Yes.
From one side of the range to the other.
Right. Our local news. I mean, how many look at your newscast and you go find another station with 200,000 people and put them side by side. It's incredible to see the products we're putting out in this little media market because it just brings all these wonderful, talented people right here.
Yep. Besides your schedule, the toughest thing about doing the job that you do?
Holding on to a co-host. That's been my toughest thing. There's nothing tough about my job in terms of the hours and energy it takes, because it's a lot of energy, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's the one thing that I have been amazed at. Every time I come over, you are, and people who can go online and watch some of the programs you put, you literally do not stop for 4 hours.
It's the longest I've sat down in a month.
Yeah, you're jumping back and forth. You're hitting the radio. You're editing this literally for 4 hours.
Yeah. Well, and what people don't also see. So I'm part of the front end, the whole shiny front end of the face of the station. But I'm also working with our clients very intimately, helping our clients build these advertising campaigns. Find ways to take their product and incorporate it in our brand. And that's a lot of work in itself. Every client's individual. Everyone's unique. They all have different needs and different demands. And it's a lot of work keeping everyone happy.
It is. And you've done it for a long time very successfully. If anybody is listening to this and they want to go in the radio, what's the advice that you have? Or when a UNCW student comes in and says, I think I want to do radio, what do you tell them?
If you're a UNCW student, you go right to Bill Bolduc and he'll bring me your demo and we'll go from there. Honestly, if you're a student in this town and you want to get into radio, talk to your professors, come up with a demo tape and bring it into the station and let us hear it. And that's really the best way to do it. We never turn anyone down, and all tapes are welcome. A lot of the people that all the people I've hired in the last 4 years for that station have all been local. Because as I mentioned earlier in this program, I want people that are invested in this community that want to make a difference. So my last 3 hires have all been Wilmington people that do different jobs that I've brought into radio and kind of taught them the craft.
And it really is amazing. I started in radio, and I've told you this before, when I was 15 years old.
Radio
I was
misses you, Johnny. We need you back.
I was slip queuing radios, and I had the carts, like the old 8-tracks and everything else like that. But it really has changed.
Yeah.
But I think it has changed for the better in many, many ways, because you can impact so many more lives every day.
Well, you can't. It's competitive. I got to get people to listen for 25 minutes. I mean, I need people to listen for 25 minutes, and they've got 7,000 options to choose from, and I need to be one of those options. So it's changed. It's competitive, but it's so fun. There's so much access to so many great platforms, Twitter, Facebook, all these mediums that we can use. It's an exciting time to be in radio. It's a media, really a media.
What makes it a good program when you're done? When you shut it off at 10:01, how do you say, that was a good show?
So if my smile muscles hurt, it's a good show, really. So if we're smiling our way through it and having fun, I can feel it in my jaw. I can feel what kind of show it was in my jaw. And just the audience reaction. If you're having a blah show or an average show, hey Foz, how you doing? If you're having a really good show, people are calling up laughing and engaged, and I can check the temperature of the show several different ways.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's neat.
What would be interesting, and this is if the newscast would put a live line out there to Wilmington and just see what's going on.
Well, they have some of those things, and people give you feedback in some of the research. People have the dials, and they turn up. I like that. Oh man, what is he wearing? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not a.
Because that's
sometimes it might hurt the old ego a little bit to do that.
Believe you me, and that's the other problem of being, and you know this better than anyone, when you're in the public eye, you get the good, but you also get the bad. And the bigger you are, the bigger target you are, the more accessible you are for the bad. Yeah. And it's a weird dynamic. You almost have to get, if people aren't complaining, you're not doing your job.
Oh, I understand. Yeah. I mean, I've told people the best days I've ever had was when my news director got a call from one person that said I was too liberal, and then 15 minutes later, my news director got a call that said I was too conservative. I said, good day. Right. Good day. If I can walk in, or if I walk into a group, and if I'm doing a political event, and 1/3 of the people think I'm Democrat, 1/3 think I'm Libertarian, 1/3 think I'm Republican, I've done my job.
Right. Absolutely right, because you're neutral, right.
Yeah.
Doesn't this thing, and I don't want to talk politics, but what I don't like is how people can't have their own opinion anymore, right? Where people are going to get, depending on red, blue, whatever color you are, the whole individuality has been lost. We should celebrate the fact that people are different and have choices and can, support different parties. There's nothing wrong with that. And I want us to all come back together and just celebrate the fact that we are different, and that's okay. You can be blue, I can be red, they can be green, she can be purple. We can all represent whatever party we want. Just do it in a classy way and respect each other.
I think that you hit the word is respect. I don't think there's respect for others' opinions anymore, no matter what it is.
Right, which your opinion's valuable. My opinion's valuable. We all need to create space for that. We really do.
Some of the most effective people, and I've told them, and you're one of them, is that when I listen, I think that Foz is in my back seat talking only to me. Mm-hmm. And there are effective people, effective communicators, to me, bring across. You could be talking to 100,000, 200,000 people, but I think Foz is talking directly to John. How long does it take to get that confidence that you are doing that?
And that is a trick to that. It really is, because you got to realize I'm just a person standing there with a sheet, just like you are right here, right? What's really helped us is always having access to the phone. So we're always talking to people. So it always has been, certainly for the morning show, it's just always been a conversation with friends. I'm always talking to my co-host. We're always bringing in people from the community to chime in. It's always been just one big, all of us are here talking about this, and that it creates this inclusion with everyone. It really does, and that's you have to have that. Yeah. You have to have that. I certainly don't want somebody to feel like I'm talking to them or at them. I want to feel like we're talking together.
You're in the back seat of their car as they're driving to school, or driving to the CVS, or driving to work, or whatever it is that day.
What got you? I know you were amazing at radio back in the day. I'm sure people heard you and thought, ooh, this guy's got pipes. It was fun, yeah. What led you into TV?
An internship.
Okay.
The summer between my junior and senior year of college.
Okay.
I had done play-by-play in radio. I had done the DJ thing in radio.
Right.
I was early '80s, so I was the
heyday.
When U2 was doing Gloria before they started doing Joshua Tree. Those were the kind of things that I played on college radio. Did play-by-play, but when I got into the TV station, and I realized that you could put pictures with that audio, and the things you could do with it, and when you could slow-mo it and tell those kind of, I was hooked. Yeah. And then back in the early '80s, there wasn't the insurance qualms there are now. So I went to the TV station after my internship and just kept going there every day.
Yeah.
And then when they had a part-time job, I got it, and that was 1984, and I've been in it ever since.
But you showed up for free every day, ready to contribute.
It's a work ethic thing.
Absolutely right. And that's what sets you apart.
Yeah.
See, everyone sees the polished John Evans. They see this beautiful man who's, well paid, highly respected, a good citizen, but they don't realize the struggles and journey it took to get there. They really don't. A lot of work to be John Evans.
It is
a lot of work to run your fan club.
Successful like Jason Fosdick. It has been, we've been friends for a long, long time.
Yes.
And Wilmington is a better place because you're here.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Blessed that you've been here 15 years. I never thought Jason would be here 15 years. I figured if you want, you could go and punch your ticket wherever you wanted to go.
So interesting. I've had plenty of opportunities. I really have. But the company I work for has treated me so well. And they treat me like Elvis. I have all the freedom in the world. I have all the tools around me to be successful and great. Why would I leave that? There's never been an opportunity that, I'm not even sure there is an opportunity out there that would make me want to leave this, because I've worked so hard to build something so special. I couldn't just walk away from that.
And now you've got a wife and a child who are in Wilmington. It's no longer just Foz. It's Foz and Mrs. and Max.
Right. And I feel that responsibility of being there just like you do. I feel the responsibility where if I did leave, well, what's going to happen to the CF Foundation, right? They rely on me to help get people engaged and get money raised. What's going to happen with Make-A-Wish? Every couple of years or every couple of months, we're trying with the radio station to do a Make-A-Wish and help a kid out every couple of months. What's going to happen to those wishes? Who's going to step up and do that? So I feel a great deal of responsibility working here, which I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, we have to.
I see how you guys attack all the different stuff you guys do after the storm when you did that big fundraiser.
Yeah.
The passion you guys put into that. That's why you got those humongous checks.
Yeah.
That's why Smithfield, I think, cut that. Was that the company that cut? I mean, it was amazing, the generosity of these companies and your guys' clients. But the reason they did that is because y'all showed up to do it and you put the passion behind it. And anyone that does that in any industry, you're going to get amazing results, just like ECT, just like Z.
Well, again, I appreciate your work for this community. Like I said, Wilmington's better you're here. I'm glad that I can consider you one of my friends, and I respect the living daylights out of you, and I think you know that.
Yeah, well, I think my T-shirt pretty much says everything that I feel about you. And I love you. I love what you guys do in this community. I know we're competitors, so to speak, for the ad dollar, but you know what? I've never looked at all these different people in media. I've never looked at us as competing. We're all here trying to do the best we can for our community. And that's why we do have a bunch of, there's a lot of good media here in town. A lot of them.
Thanks for letting
us. You're the best.
Thanks for letting us peek behind the curtain of Jason Fosdick, Foz, every morning. We hear you, but it's kind of neat to get to know you a little bit more.
Well, I'm sorry the face is probably a little more disappointing than you thought, but the voice is still spot on, and I'm friends with John Evans, so everyone's still going to love me.
Thank you, buddy.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, man. Big thanks to Foz for sparing some of his time and sitting down for this long for a podcast interview. You know, it's unusual for someone of his talent to be in a market like Wilmington for so long. We've all benefited from him being here. And I personally, along with many other people, hope that he's here for many, many more years. Z1075 is all over social media, on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram. And if you want to reach out to Foz himself, the email address, foz@z1075.com. And one more thing, there is no such thing as a John Evans fan club. But if there were, he'd probably be the president. And before we go, we'd like to ask you again to please subscribe to the One-on-One with John Evans podcast and leave us a rating or a review. That'll really help us with our listings on all of the podcast apps and help us bring in even more listeners too. I'm John Evans. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of One-on-One.